Hello, a very warm welcome to you all for this online service to commemorate the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. My name's Cynthia Barlow and I'm the chair of RoadPeace, the national charity for road crash victims. This global World Day of Remembrance for crash victims was started by RoadPeace in 1993. It was then supported by the European Federation of Road Traffic Victims in 1995 and then adopted by the United Nations in 2005. It is a chance for us to come together in support and solidarity to remember our loved ones, to give thanks to the emergency services for their vital work in the aftermath of a crash, and to highlight the devastating and unacceptable toll of road crashes. So while we may not be together in person today because of the pandemic, we are joined in spirit by many thousands of people around the world and in all the countries of the world who are taking part in services and activities to commemorate the World Day. Together we are united in our grief to remember and honour all those who have lost their lives on our roads and our determination to prevent further injury, loss of life and suffering. We come together on this day to remember because we cannot and we will not forget, and to alert society to the appalling number of people killed and injured in crashes and the urgent need to put an end to this carnage. During the 25 years in which the World Day of Remembrance has been commemorated, more than 30 million people have lost their lives on the world's roads and over 1 billion have been injured. Every year, more than 1.35 million people die in crashes worldwide. In this country alone, last year, 1,752 people were reported killed on Britain's roads. And to the shock of many people, the number of people killed in the UK is not getting any lower year on year. Each of these numbers represents precious lives lost prematurely, suddenly and violently, and the millions of people bereaved and bereft every year. Mothers, fathers, partners, sons, daughters, grandparents, sisters, brothers, friends, colleagues. We cannot and we will not accept this. Gradually, cities across the world are signing up to what is called Vision Zero, that is, a complete elimination of road deaths and serious injuries. Yes, of course that's ambitious, but in an article earlier this year, it was announced that Helsinki and Oslo have managed to cut pedestrian deaths to zero. So what are we waiting for? We are grateful to everyone who has made our service possible today. Thank you to RoadPeace member Kira Lee for your moving reflections on remembrance following the death of your beloved husband, Eddie. Thank you to the RoadPeace local groups and services for your contributions. We have a poem, "This is Not the Way Things Were Supposed to Be," written by our West Midlands local group coordinator Lucy Harrison in memory of her brother Peter. This is being read by Kate Azell at the Southwest Memorial to Lives Lost and Broken on the Roads in Bath. Kate coordinates our Southwest local group and got involved with RoadPeace after the death of her husband Martin, who was killed while cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats. Pauline Fielding, our wonderful local coordinator for the Northwest, will lead our moment of silence from Liverpool. Pauline's son Andrew was killed in a crash in Cheshire in 1994. The driver of the car sped off and was never traced. We will also hear from the Victims Commissioner, Dame Vera Baird, Alison Hernandez, the Devon and Cornwall Police and Crime Commissioner and lead on roads policing, and Chris Boardman, Greater Manchester's Walking and Cycling Commissioner. Thank you so much for your messages of support. It means a lot to us. And we have music from the Northamptonshire Music and Performing Arts Trust, who would normally perform at the Northampton service, and from the Metropolitan Police Choir, who usually perform at our service in London. And composer Charles Timberlake, who wrote the long adieu in memory of crash victims. Most of all, thank you to everyone who has shared photos of precious loved ones for our act of remembrance. Our hope is that you may all find comfort from our service, and that by sharing this experience with others who understand what you are going through, you will find strength from this collective act of remembrance. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Richard Fox and I'm the musical director of the Metropolitan Police Choir. So many and too many of you who are watching the service have been affected by road crash incidents. The Metropolitan Police Choir have been so privileged to be part of this service for so many years, to be able to offer some help with grief and enable people to find strength and a small amount of solace in the music that we perform. RoadPeace is the national charity for road crash victims in the UK. The information the charity provides, along with the support, is so vital to those who have been seriously injured and to those friends and families who have lost someone that they love. Their work around how we use the roads to make them safe as possible will certainly reduce the number of victims in the future. Their hard work and dedication is such an inspiration to us all. Members of the choir, myself included, have been first responders to scenes of road crash incidents, or are those who investigate what has happened and fully understand the devastating effects road crash incidents have on their victims, their friends, and their families. The following video is of the choir performing You Raise Me Up. We know the music and the words are so poignant and emotionally charged. We hope that as you all watch and listen, the music is able to help in some way to show that we as a choir are honoured to be continuing support to you all and the RoadPeace charity. The best wishes of the whole choir are with you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alison Hernandez, Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. Most people think that my job is dealing with policing or it's dealing with crime. Well, actually, one of the things that our community is most concerned about is the death toll on our roads. It's why I've become the National Policing Lead for roads policing and road safety for all police and crime commissioners. We've recently done a survey nationally, and we know how frustrating it is that people see people flouting the law every day behind the wheel of a car, whether it's on a mobile phone, speeding, not wearing a seatbelt, or inconsiderate driving. But ultimately, what our community cares about is the number of crashes that take place and the number of people who die. And what we want to do is bring all of our efforts and energy together to see what we can do to tackle this issue. We absolutely want to see 0 deaths on our roads. We have an ambition locally, and I'm trying to drive that nationally, for a Vision Zero for the next 20 years that we aim to get there. We don't want to see any more tragedies. If you spent time with a family who's lost someone through a road death, you don't want to be there again. If you've spoken to a community who's absolutely frustrated that they think we don't care about their safety because of speeding cars through their towns and villages, you don't want to be at that public meeting. And if you want to meet people who are actually being taken advantage of and exploited by criminals by the use of the road network, and you're seeing young people dealing in drugs and getting involved in county lines, you don't want that to be your child. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to police our roads, and that we're putting as much investment as possible into making sure that we're keeping people safe on our roads.
On this, the 25th year of World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims, I want to extend my support to everyone affected by road traffic crashes. The toll, both in this country and globally, is too hard to bear. 71 people are seriously injured on just Britain's roads every day. 5 families lose a loved one every single day from a road crash. It's a leading cause of death amongst the most young and healthy of us. Dealing with such a loss is momentum, quite unimaginable. As Victims Commissioner, I'm very pleased that the government is holding a review into post-crash care for victims. I would like to hear from RoadPeace and from the other road crash charities what their views are when this review is completed. As we know from the solemn statistics, the bereaved and seriously injured in these circumstances are great in number. They must not be forgotten, and they must be treated with all of the care and all of the compassion which is warranted in this situation. Whilst RoadPeace is invaluable, absolutely invaluable in the care, the comfort, the practical support it gives to individuals, their important work goes way beyond this. They advocate for better rights and recognition for victims, and they campaign to improve the response of the criminal justice system to road crash victims. I want to pay tribute to RoadPeace for the work that they do, the contribution they make towards stopping future suffering. This day of collective remembrance is an opportunity to reflect and to ensure that victims are never forgotten. We come together in support and in recognition of the countless lives lost, each an individual loved with a name, with a life history, cut cruelly short by a totally avoidable phenomenon.
This Global Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims is a call for us all to pause and reflect on those that have needlessly lost their lives on the world's roads. One of them was my mother while she rode a bike just a few miles from here. By the end of this one day, more than 3,700 people will have lost their lives globally because of road violence. By the end of the year, that'll add up to close to 1.5 million, about the same that have been taken by coronavirus. In response to that crisis around the world, workplaces and public spaces shut. Traffic was effectively turned off, and the resulting change to our urban landscape inadvertently launched a planet-wide consultation on using our streets differently. Suddenly that low-level sense of fear and unease had gone, and we felt safe on our streets. And as a consequence, we began venturing out. Whether to get to work, to exercise, to alleviate boredom, or entertain restless kids. Whatever the reason, people started taking to two wheels in their droves. And city bosses around the world realised that this trend was not just good for the mental and physical health of a lockdown population. If people continued doing what they were currently enjoying, they were staring at a cheap and fast solution to some of their biggest and most expensive problems too. So Rome, Milan, New York, in fact, the world's most important conurbations started frantically clearing a path so that people could ride. In Paris, Anne Hidalgo, who was already on a mission to make the French capital greener before COVID came along, started putting 650 kilometres of cycle lanes in place to create that security, and pledged that every street in the capital would become cycle friendly by 2024. In the UK, Boris Johnson announced his gear change proposal to give us the sense of security we need if we're going to use our roads differently. Measures that are now being implemented and proving contentious because they threaten the status quo. And with 44% more traffic on our residential streets in just the last 10 years, the status quo desperately needs challenging. We now need to give local councillors and politicians our loud and vigorous support. Give them the courage to stand up to the vociferous minority who want to keep things as they are. That's how I will be remembering my mother, by trying to make the wholly positive activity that she loved safe for everyone. I think we'd be insane not to recognise that in the midst of this terrible time, the bicycle has given us something quite wonderful. And I, for one, am hoping that cycling continues to be highly infectious, because in this case, the malady is also the cure.
This is not the way things were supposed to be. To stare at a plaque with the words "Remember me" and be filled with thoughts of you. It had seemed that time was limitless and there was still so much to say. It had never occurred that one so full of life could be confined to yesterday. Back then, road deaths were just stories to us, small segments on the news, and we never quite understood all the fuss until we became the next family to walk in those shoes. And then our world imploded. It seemed like time had stopped, as we sat stunned and still and shocked and completely torn apart. But people were quick to say it would get better, to promise the hurt would ease. So why are there still these terrible days when grief can buckle us to our knees? Well, this tragedy was so unexpected, a colossal bolt from the blue. And there are moments we feel so completely dejected that we cannot rewind the clock to be with you. So we hold our memories tight, as remembering you is beautiful, and our love for you is forever and completely irrefutable, and that will never change. Perhaps we light a candle as we gather together with others, the bereaved supporting each other, some fathers, some wives, some friends, some mothers. And perhaps there might be some relief as your name is read for all to hear, for somehow it gives us the belief your spirit will always be near. Yes, this is not the way that things were supposed to be, but I am so thankful for the life that you shared with me.
I've made a number of speeches since my husband was killed 2 years ago, but writing this one has been one of the most challenging. It's because I'm not here to campaign, I'm not talking about justice or trying to get safer roads. I'm talking about remembrance, and it's a concept that I've really struggled with. I live here on the River Thames near Cookham with my son Seren, who's 4. When Seren was 2.5, his father, my husband Eddie, was killed on his way to work by a dangerous driver. Eddie was in stationary traffic when a van hit him at speed without braking. The driver's eyes were nowhere near the road. When Eddie was killed, we were exceptionally happy. We took nothing for granted, and even though we lived our lives to the fullest, the loss still feels completely enormous. I've chosen to give this speech from our boat, next to our beautiful garden, and by the stretch of water that felt like it was ours. As I'm unable to be with you all in a place where we can sit together and reflect, I'm talking to you from my place of reflection, my place of love and fun, my place of happiness and heartbreak. Occasions of remembrance are something that don't feel natural to me yet, and perhaps they never will. It feels as if they may require a certain amount of acceptance about what has happened, a level of being at peace that so few of us impacted by road death can ever really feel. It's hard to accept something while the feeling of disbelief that it's happened is still so strong. Multiple times in a week, I have to catch my breath and remember that Eddie is gone. 1 cup of coffee is made in the morning. 1 bike helmet is taken from the shed. 1 set of keys used from the drawer. My son recently started school, and while looking at him with such pride, I'm also thinking, he has no dad. The two concepts are like magnets repelling each other. Having thought about this speech for some time, I realise that these moments that make us reach for that extra breath are in fact our acts of remembrance. We live in a permanent state of remembrance every day. Those we loved were taken from us too soon. They were taken before their time, suddenly and often violently. They were denied the little moments that make our lives together so unique. We remember them by mourning what they are missing, what they have been deprived of. My son will often accomplish things that I know would have filled Eddie with such joy. These moments are hard, of course, but so too are the completely mundane acts that we long to share with them. I would like to use this opportunity to acknowledge why an occasion like this, where we come together even online, united in our loss, is so important. Remembrance is hard for a reason, and one that we should feel proud of. The people that we lost were that important. Their lives made the biggest impact. They mattered. It's not about accepting that they are gone, but rather accepting that their lives made waves that keep on rolling. Their loss informs how we continue to live. When life feels impossible, it's because they mattered. When life feels amazing, it's because they showed us that too. I'd love to be able to tell Eddie the impact he made. He was shy and modest, but his spirit was enormous. We had so little time together, yet he was my greatest adventure. We can't tell them what they mean anymore, but we can remember their impact together.
Moment of Silence by Rochelle Sabel, whose son was killed in a bus crash in Turkey over 20 years ago. Perhaps the moment of silence that we are about to observe in memory of our loved ones who perished in road crashes will not be a moment of silence at all. Perhaps in this moment we will allow ourselves to hear the echo of the voices of family members, friends and colleagues whose voices we have ached to hear, many of us for long and painful years. Perhaps their voices will urge us to remain impatient, indeed to grow even more impatient, to continue to petition, protest, advocate, convene, measure, enact, enforce, until that promise that we all carry in our hearts will be fulfilled. The promise that someday beautiful lives will no longer end abruptly and senselessly on the roads of the world. Perhaps they will encourage us if we are feeling that our gains are too small, advances too slow, and our work too fraught with challenges. Perhaps they will assure us that important progress has been made by the World Road Safety community, and that progress has been remarkable. The momentum is growing, palpable and inspiring. Perhaps they will congratulate us on the efforts and vision of this alliance, which is already and will surely become a powerful and resounding collective force for road safety. They will surely remind us of the preciousness of each moment, the unique, irreplaceable beauty of each individual, the fragility and tenuousness of life, the devastation that a split second can bring, and our sacred responsibility to make this a road-safe world for all. We honour the memory of those who died in road crashes. They shatter our hearts, strengthen our resolve, and compel us to action. Let us listen to their voices as we remember them in silence. As we close, I would like to thank everyone who has made today's service possible. And I would like to thank you too for joining us. I do hope it has been helpful. I will close by reading the words of a poem chosen by the Queen to be read at her mother's funeral. You can shed tears that they have gone, or you can smile because they have lived. You can close your eyes and pray that they will come back. Or you can open your eyes and see all that they have left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see them, or you can be full of the love you have shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember them and only that they have gone, or you can cherish their memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what they would want. Smile, open your eyes, love and go on. Thank you.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by.
If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through
For you.
Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near,
oh, that's the
time you must keep on trying.
Smile, what's the use of crying?
You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. You just smile. Oh, smile, though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your fear and sorrow. Smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining